Hi guys, I'm starting here with absolute basics with watercolor, and it's usually what I do with my students. Something as simple as the way you hold the brush can make a difference. So here we have pans, and these are the paints that you have in tins. And then obviously there are tubes. Now my preference are pans because I like to do quick work and I'm out and about. There are also different qualities of paint, but I would recommend to start with for people that are new to it, don't go for the really cheap stuff. However, don't be put off by the very expensive. So these are Winsor & Newton artist quality, but I would recommend Winsor & Newton Cotman or Daily Round do the same sort of thing. This is a round brush, so it's your normal brush. It has a nice point on it, which means you can get a nice point for getting the detail, but also you can load the brush onto the paint. So what is loading the brush? It's just a technical word for saying putting paint on the brush. So this brush here, the second one, I love this brush, right? It's my baby. My students know me quite well, but you don't have to spend a fortune. You can get a pack of the Pro Art Academy brushes. I think when I bought these, they were about £7. I think now they're about 10 or 11, but you can get off Amazon and different things. So you've got the metal bit of the brush. You want to hold that. I tend to stick my finger out quite a lot. It just helps balance when you're painting and getting this flow. You also want to feel in your arm, and when you're moving it around, you'll just feel this nice flow with watercolor. Because the thing for me, so what I'm sharing here is just my personal view. Okay, everyone creates differently. You want to have the flow come through you and then onto the page. So loading the brush, you want to put your brush almost like a tippy toe into the pan. So the pan is that little cube of paint. And then the mistake that people often make is they add too much water. So it stays fairly dry, to be honest. You just want a little bit of water just to sort of soften it up. You can feel it getting sticky in the pan. You can almost hear it as well, and that's what you want. And you just slowly build up this puddle of colour and then add some water into it just to create almost like a puddle of inky colour. So I'm creating a puddle of colour here. It's a bit of cadmium red. It's quite a strong colour. I tend to think of colours as having personalities. Some are stronger than others, and some are a bit bossy, like blues. Blues are very bossy. What I'm going to do is I'm looking at tones, and tones, all they are when you go from the dark end of the spectrum through to the light end. So for watercolors, it's just a case of adding water and diluting it each step of the way. So I put paint on the brush. I roll it on the plate slightly to take the excess off, and then I'm going to do a little square. You can do dots, circles, triangles, whatever you want to do, but it's just to go from dark to light. So I start off with my main puddle of colour, and it's quite strong, it's quite rich, and then I'm just slowly going to add a little bit of water each time. So then I'm going to make my way from dark right the way through to light. And some colours you can go a long way. So blues, for example, you can go a long way. And this is good practice, actually. I still do it now. It's good practice to get a sense of the right consistency, because that's the mistake that people make quite often. The right consistency, the right feel, and the brush strokes that you're making. I use my little finger, so you can see there, to balance on quite a lot. It gives you better control on the paintbrush. And then I'm just slowly making my way along, adding a bit more water as I go, so that my colour is getting lighter and lighter, and that means my tone is getting lighter and lighter. So it can go on for quite a long time. It's quite therapeutic. If you have a palette or tubes, it's quite a useful exercise to do. It's a little bit like meditation as well, actually. You'll also get a feel for the colours. So ultramarine blue feels very different to cadmium red. Alizarian crimson, or as one of my students calls it, alliash, it behaves differently again. So you can see here, as I'm adding more water, I've skipped a few stages, I'm adding more water, and it's very light now. And when you get to this point on the scale, this is quite useful for doing layers of washes. which is called glazes. And if you're using oils, you would use a similar thing, but you're using linseed oil to make the glazes. Very fine. If you use primary colours, which is red, yellow and blue, you will always keep your colours nice and fresh. It's very hard to make it go muddy if you just use the red, yellow and blue. So there we go. We are looking at our tones. This is cadmium red. What would be quite an interesting thing to do is, if you've got pans, is do this exercise with different colours. You'll get a feel for them and their personality. So this is the first step on watercolours, and keeping it very basic in a simple language, because quite often artists, myself included, we can get a little bit arty-farty. So I'm trying to avoid that. Watercolour is a very calming medium. Quite a lot of my guys really mellow out to it. So watch these, see what you think, and more to follow. Take care, guys.